Are there dumb questions in software engineering? Simba, everything you see here, everything the light touches, is the land of software engineering.
Oh, okay.
In this land, there are no dumb questions. If you have a dumb question, ask it. For you only look dumb for 5 minutes. But if you never ask that question, then you are dumb for a lifetime. As a senior software engineer, Mufasa just pointed out, there are no dumb questions in software engineering, and this is great advice in general. You only really look dumb in the moment, and if you don't ask, well, you never find out what you need to know. After all, everyone starts from somewhere. These are questions that I had when I first started learning how to code. What's the difference between Java and JavaScript? So if I take C, what are the 2 enhancements that I need to make it C++? Alright, slow down. Callback hell seems scary, but remind me what a callback is again. For questions like this, my go-to is Google. It doesn't care if you have a question. When you have a question, you need an answer in order to learn. So go to Google, it will point you toward the right answer. But the gray area begins when you start working in a team. In a collaborative environment, it can be tempting to swivel around in your chair and ask, how do I shell into the remote server again? And you'll find that someone on the team is going to be more than happy to assist. When I hear a question like this, I'm eager to help. I enjoy mentoring and helping other people learn, and you'll find that other software engineers will be the same. So I guess the conclusion is, well, if you have a question, then just turn around and ask a fellow software engineer right away. But I wouldn't advise turning your fellow team members into your own personal Google. When you ask a question, you have to consider the fact that they have to do a context switch in order to help you out. Sure, it may only take them a minute or so to get your problem resolved, but they're going to also be working on code or doing a task. And in order to assist you, they're going to have to pause that task and then help you and then get back in the zone right after. So in the end, it takes them a little more time in order to address the situation. So that's something to definitely keep in mind when you're sparking up a mentoring session or you're asking a fellow software engineer a question. Remember that Google isn't working on code currently. Well, of course they have a ton of engineers working on code for them every single day. But the point is, Google is there as a search engine and a resource for you when you need to figure something out. If it happens to be a more company-related technical question, see the engineering documentation that is already existing, what other resources you can have. Even Slack archives can be really great. You can search up the bug or a similar question and you'll find responses out there and people who have already had this same issue resolved. And once you've exhausted all of those available resources, well, that's when your question becomes super valuable. Because more likely than not, if you don't know the answer to a question, well, then your team member probably isn't going to know either if you've already looked at Slack, the published engineering documentation, used Google, Stack Overflow, etc. And then in the pairing session, you both are learning together as you dig into the code and find out the answer. That's pretty cool if you can spark a session as productive as that. Also, think about alternative ways you can spark a discussion. Rather than the shotgun approach of turning around and bursting out a question to the team, there are other things that you can do in order to engage a discussion between you and your team members. You can private message your team member, or you can post in your team channel if you're using Slack. That way, this allows other team members to respond and help you out when they have time and they're free to do so. As a software engineer, I've learned that it's all about balance. I try to make the environment as collaborative as I can. I never reject a question. And if I'm asked a question where I don't know something, I'm transparent and admit that I don't know the answer. And if anything, if I don't know the answer, well, I look forward to figuring out that answer along with you. And then it becomes a great paired collaborative experience as we dig into the code together. Now, there are many things about being a software engineer that aren't necessarily listed on Glassdoor job postings out there or job descriptions that you're gonna find. And one of those things that I've learned in my career as a software engineer so far is that it's part of your job to consider the team's time and efficiency overall. So that's why when I have a question, I think about what is the most productive way that I can spark a discussion or get this question answered, without being interruptive. Now, on this subject of dumb questions, I want to clarify that I don't think anyone will judge you when you don't know something. And if they do judge you, that's a bad reflection on your team or your company's culture, and not you. But there is something to be said about the fact that software engineers respect others who can self-learn. After all, we're self-taught, and we take pride in that. We take pride in the fact that we learned by going through the documentation of a language or a framework, or doing online courses, or digging around and coding in the language itself and just trying it out. This is how you become a successful software engineer. In a team, you're going to be assigned tasks or pick up tasks on your own. And then it's your job to execute on those tasks and take them to the finish line. As you get more experience, you're going to require less questions in order to do so. And at a certain point, even if you're not familiar with a certain new domain yet, if you can dig into the code, research yourself, teach yourself, and overcome your own hurdles, well, then you'll become the software engineer that everyone else is relying upon. Alright, this is a perspective that I've arrived at so far as a software engineer, and I'm curious, do you agree, or have you arrived at different conclusions based on your experiences? Let me know. I hope to continue making videos on soft skills like this. I have lots of experiences in the software engineering world that I think you get a kick out of or that you could learn from, so let me know if you want more content like this. Otherwise, feel free to visit my website at davidtkatz.com, where you can find links to connect with me, and I'll see you in the next one.